Hello. In this video, I wanted to talk about drawing boxes with a corner first approach. And the thing about drawing boxes is that there are many ways to do it. I always do recommend looking at some type of reference if you can. I feel like we are mostly surrounded by boxes in one way or another. So I just drew some points, and basically those points represent lines leading to a corner. I mean, technically, I guess this dot would be the main dot to represent a corner. I mean, all of these dots are corners in one way or another. But I feel like if you start off doing something along the lines of this, it's one method to start. But it could sometimes be confusing if you don't know what type of box you were really looking for. And I'm not going to lie, but like I really highly recommend that if you have like some way, if you have a book, I mean, I know boxes aren't, I mean, I know not all books are boxes, sad to say, but if you had any type of box shape in your living area, or that you could reference and look at it from different eye levels, I think that could be extremely helpful. I may have mentioned in another video one day a long time ago, back in 2019, when I was working. We had lunch, of course, and I wanted to say during my lunch break, I one time was drawing, and I had an empty Milk Duds container, and I was trying to learn about it, observe it from different perspectives. Basically, I was ignoring all the detail and just focusing on the box shape of it. And I feel like at the time I really lacked muscle memory, so I probably didn't do as good as I wanted to at it. But I drew a ton of boxes. Things like that. Little sessions, spurts of grind sessions could be helpful, although don't let them bore you. But when I was doing that, I was starting with a corner. So, like, if you could pick some corner to start with and draw that corner, then draw the rest of the box, it could be extremely helpful. I also recommend that you ghost your lines. I've said this in so many of my videos, but in the event someone is watching and they haven't seen the other videos, I will mention it again. Basically, you draw without drawing, and you try to get into the motion of executing a line without actually drawing it. The whole purpose is to get practice before you execute, kind of like measure twice, cut once. Kind of like that, even though I was a little off. But yeah, take as long as you need when you were doing that type of line practice. Okay, so back to the main box. I'm going to complete it at some point. I hope I'm not talking too long, and I do want to get to the point of drawing this box. Also, I would not be concerned about time so much when you're drawing. Don't stress about it. It's just another thing to worry about. Obviously, you don't want to be sitting down for too long to the point that it hurts your back, which is actually very interesting in my opinion, because I thought my shoulder would be the first thing to hurt, but it appears it's usually my lower body from sitting too long and my lower back. Okay, so we drew pretty much one corner, kind of like this Y shape that represents the box. And I'm going to complete this box as well, but that's kind of pretty much it when you're trying to do it. Now, you could kind of modify the Y shape for different perspectives. I'm not drawing the dots in this case, but like, if you could think of it, this is more of like a different view of the box. I should have made it a bit longer. It helps to plot the dots first. I feel like if you just try to draw it on a whim, more often than not, I'm probably not going to get the most accurate box, or it's going to look a bit skewed in perspective. Like a lot of the boxes I'm drawing here, they probably don't really make sense next to each other, because if you're like considering eye level in the horizon, it just wouldn't look right. I'm kind of just drawing a bunch of boxes on the page here for the practice of it. Now, for the next one, I'm going to be drawing the back dimension over here. I can never ghost my lines for long enough. Darn. Usually the smaller the line segment that you're trying to execute, I found ghosting it could be still difficult. Drawing with your shoulder very small is can be a bit of a challenge. Like this length isn't really that small, but I'd probably just lack experience still. Okay, we have our box. I didn't draw through it. Usually I would draw through it somehow, but that's really not what I want to focus on in this video. Although you could if you wanted to. So, I always start with a front corner, kind of like the corner that's closest to the viewer. But if you were to say, if you wanted to try a different way, you could definitely do that. But I do think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying don't step out of your comfort zone, but more often than not, I found that when it comes to drawing, starting with the most important things first, I think they really determine everything else, like pretty much the entire direction of your drawing. It's just something that I've picked up on. Possibly I'm wrong and I lack experience to really know. But yeah, it's just something that I've picked up on time and time again. I also worry if doing that, like I'm not saying you're only drawing the most important things first. There could be multiple important things in your overall drawing or composition. But yeah, starting with the main important aspect first could be beneficial. But I never tried drawing a box with the back corner first, so I think it's going to be an interesting little experiment that you will be the first one to see, as I never have really done this before. It's so weird. I think about here. Then how do I determine that? This is just such a bizarre way of drawing a box to me. It's like, I'm trying to determine, like, what the heck am I even doing? I shouldn't have started with that one, but it should go there. At least it gets me thinking a little. I think challenging yourself is definitely a good thing to do. Trying to avoid stagnation, stepping out of your comfort zone. It can be hard to do, but I try to do it every day. I think it could be kind of fun eventually. But like I said, the important thing is always focusing on like a variation of the Y shape. you know, from various extreme. You could really mess with the Y shape from extremes. This video may get a little long, just to tell you. I will try not to make it too long, but I always try to make my videos long enough to just kind of like show the main point. Well, I guess a little extra isn't too bad, but you know, I never want to waste anyone's time. So the important thing is the line that I'm ghosting pretty much here and here. I am trying to figure out how it will align with that, because there's got to be like some straight up line about here that will coincide with it. But, you know, also I want these lines to kind of converge towards a vanishing point. I think about here is where I would aim for. I messed that one up before I even finished it. Okay. This keeps reminding me of like one of those tension sculptures. If you ever have seen them, I don't know why that popped up into my mind, but it just did for one reason or another. So I made a good deal of mistakes. This box is not accurate. I can tell, like, I mean, even this one that I drew, it's a lot more accurate, and I'm not used to drawing boxes starting with a back dimension, so I guess that really, I guess that really shows. Okay, so I also want to talk about boxes that you may be looking at, like, kind of directly in front of you. I mentioned the Y shape, but, like, you know, it could be weird sometimes, in which you may not always be able to rely on it. Like, the Y is just so, it's not really a Y anymore. It's kind of more like that. But I should have plotted this out as starting off with dots, because I want to aim for a box that is kind of toppling over a bit in space. But, you know, it always seems like there's about 4 dots that you can make some type of Y shape. But it's not always a Y shape. It gets really, really bizarre. And, you know, sometimes thinking in terms of these could be a bit too difficult, I would say. And I will say that I have another video coming out soon talking about another approach you could do to drawing boxes, and I found that using that method, spoiler, basically you use planes. Like, you start with a side rather than a corner, and you establish like the plane first, or side, and it kind of makes it a bit easier if you're just trying to like quickly freehand it. It's not going to be 100% accurate. You could try to be careful with it and try to make it accurate, but I will show that in another video. Not in this video, because you know, one topic, one thing, different topic, different thing. So if you look at this Y shape, it's just so, it's so bizarre. And it, you know, I think the Y shape and the dots, it could just be, I don't know. It could be very difficult to think about it in those terms. Although, like, I know I can do it. It's just one of those things that, like, I don't know. I feel like there are other methods. Maybe I just don't know enough yet, but I always wondered if maybe people may not like plotting out the whole thing before they do it. I always wondered if maybe that is a bit annoying. Because I know there is large benefits to being able to freehand it in a way that's comfortable to you. But, you know, with freehanding, you are going to sacrifice a level of accuracy. But if it's like a preliminary drawing, you know, maybe the whole point is not accuracy. Like if you're doing things like a thumbnail sketch for a composition, you may be just trying to find a composition that you're liking, and you don't have to nail it on the first try. But if that does happen, I mean, if you do get it on the first try, that's awesome, but, you know, I feel like there's always an exploration phase, and that's kind of what makes a lot of drawing fun. Oh, I really don't like this one. I really messed up. I think that should have been converging a bit more. Like, one line's going down here, one line's going down here. I think this side is converging a little bit too fast. But, you know, back here there is going to be like another dimension of some sort. It gets weird with these types of boxes. You know, I want to say when I was doing exercises a long time ago, there was like a way to generate Ys if you couldn't determine what type of box to draw. And I think that was kind of the issue that I realized. The fact that you have to have an idea and look at a Y before you can actually draw the given box, rather than looking at a box. You know, maybe it can help you try to get some type of visual memory of some sort, but I feel like at that point you're better off looking at an actual box reference and then using the Y method of starting with a corner. Oh, I don't like this. I messed up somewhere. But oh well. Okay, so the other box that I wanted to cover here is one that is like extremely converging. Like, you know, it's really sitting at eye level. We're just a little bit above it in this case. And it's like a very open Y shape. So I'm drawing it right here, if you can see. Some of my dots are a bit fine. They're probably just a couple pixels in diameter. But you'll see as I start drawing lines. Oh, I messed that one up. Okay. We're making headway. Ah, it's a bit off. I should have ghosted more. It's a little off. Or a little too far. I think I was a little too far again, but I'm going to roll with that one. I think I was off on the initial starting dot. I think I kind of curved it a bit. Don't beat yourself up. That is another thing I kind of realized. I found that when you are trying to ghost, you will mess up a lot. I'm now drawing the back dimension. Went over it. It's very, very fine. I probably should rotate the page at this point. If I remember the command, sort of. Sometimes if you're trying to draw very fine like that, straight on, even I struggle with that. You know, probably if I ever was drawing with on paper of some sort, I probably would try to use the same approach angle more often. I feel like I can get it from any direction if I ghost long enough, but there is always some margin of error on my end. Still off. That's a little better. Oops. A little off here. I could spot a lot of mistakes. But yeah, so I do recommend as a self-exercise for yourself, try to play around with the Y. I should do another one kind of talking about in the event, like that you get some really weird stuff, like a Y that kind of goes like, well, I'll show you. I think with these types of boxes, or a Y, the hands or arms of the Y are kind of like going down more rather than up. Oops. Oh, just a side note, I don't think I ever explained it, but I guess it's pretty evident that when I said Y, it's like the letter Y. But you know, you have all these weird variations. I think it's really weird to call them a Y when it's more of a couple corners, 4 corners about. Or starting with the 4 most visible corners to you. Whether you draw through your boxes, I would say that's up to you. I've seen myself not always drawing through all of my forms. I mean, I always do try to for the exercise, but if I'm trying to get some sort of practice in, or if I'm trying to break down an object, but if I'm trying to force something in a box, sometimes I will not opt in for trying to do it. Maybe I should more often try to do that. But okay, we have our box here. You know, I'll draw through this box for your sake. It's really weird trying to draw through the dimensions. Just to tell you, like, I think that would be the horizon or the eye level for it. It gets really difficult. Think about here. I kind of made that line a bit bending. Okay, so there we go. I drew through that. So yeah, as an exercise to yourself, I mean, it could even be beneficial to, like, either plot with dots the Y shape that you have in mind, or I guess you could go along with just trying to draw the initial Y shape that you feel uncomfortable with. Do be aware of distorting your Y too much. You'll get distorted shapes like this one and this one. But, you know, it could be worth it. I feel like sometimes people try to avoid extremely distorted boxes. They could be a good exercise, but, like, sometimes, like, if you're dealing with that has to do with, like, putting your vanishing points too close together, just to kind of give you that FYI when it comes to it. So yeah, if you have any questions about this, please ask in the comments below. I'll try to help to the best of my ability. If you like the video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And yeah, look for the video next week regarding drawing boxes with a side or a plane to start off with, because I do want to expand on that, because I think that could be a better way. It's probably going to seem a lot more like I'm just trying to do like a quick sketch rather than trying to plan it out like with individual dots. But yeah, whether you use dots to summarize your Y, or if you would rather use an actual Y shape, that's really up to you. But do know that I think the more you try to plot out with dots beforehand, the more accurate you can get your box. I could be wrong. Probably with enough practice in this, you can get both accurate. But yeah, as an exercise for yourself, try to draw a bunch of different Ys on a page. You could even focus on like the really weird distorted type ones and try to draw the boxes using that and draw through your box forms. Thank you for listening. Bye.